The name Allah is a contraction of the Arabic al-Ilah, meaning the God. It is derived from the common Semitic root el, which is found in terms for divinity in other languages such as Hebrew, El, or Elohim. This name was used to refer to the supreme God long before Islam, and it became the proper name of God in the Quran. In French, if Allah is masculine, it is pronounced Allah, and if Allah is feminine, it is pronounced Allah. In French, Allah is simply a contraction of Ilah and Ilah, making it gender neutral. The Arabic word Ilah means God in the sense of divinity. Can refer to any god in a polytheistic context, but it is best known as the root of the name Allah, which is the specific term for the one God in Islam and among Arabic speakers, including Arab Christians. The name Allah comes from the expression al-Ilah, which means the God. Al is the prefix the, and Ilah is the radical word God. The word initially became al-Ilah to designate God, then Allah, a contraction of al-Ilah, meaning God, to give God a proper name. The question is, what does he have and what does she have? In French, the word Allah signifies a path, in the sense of going. A bit like the English Yahweh, which designates your path, your way, or your manner of going. In French, Allah is the past tense of the verb aller, which means to go. In proper French, we say il alla, which means he went. So it's the verb go used for God because in English the contraction of God is to go. Where did he go? We are talking about a past character, as in the manga Magi from Alma Toran. Alma Toran, as its name indicates, is a contraction of the Torah and the Quran, but also of the prophet Alma from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. This is the world from which Aladdin, Solomon, Gyokuin Ren, and the Jinn come. If you're not into manga or fiction, you can stop here. But I find the connection between fiction and reality very interesting and very important, because the drawings are designs for the sun, symbols and signs of a language other than the literary. Design refers to a deliberate destiny of events that make up the life, the lived experience of Christ, and in a broader sense, our own particular experience of the world. In the manga Magi, Alma Toran was once a world home to several independent and intelligent species. Each had established a prosperous society. However, as their population increased and their borders expanded, the vast majority of species engaged in a fierce struggle for supremacy, some even forming alliances. The strongest species began to exterminate the weakest, the latter becoming a source of food for the others. The weakest species of all was humankind. Conflict between the different species grew to such an immense scale that Il-Ilah, the creator of Alma Toran, intervened to save the world from destruction. Ilah chose to save humanity from extinction by bestowing upon the 500 surviving humans the power of magic and 72 divine staves, so that they might rule and unify the world. They ended the wars with the other species and guided them toward peace, although chaos persisted for 800 years. The Orthodox Church was founded by David Jehoahaz Abraham during these years of chaos, in an attempt to pacify the world. However, the Orthodox soon forgot their noble intentions and began to enslave other species with their powerful magic. They erected several magical towers, called gunuds, powered by the 72 divine staves and their avatars, in the territories of other species in order to deprive them of their intelligence and consciousness, transforming them into soulless monsters at their mercy. Through encountering the last original dragon, Solomon Jehoahaz Abraham, son of David, began to understand the truth about the Orthodox and felt compassion for the other species. He formed the resistance with his weapons master and closest friend, Arba, and with the other avatars of the Gunud, Phelan, Ithnan, Seta, Wahid, and the magical genie Yugo. They managed to destroy several magical towers and free many avatars of the divine staves. However, the question of leadership arose among the resistance magicians and the members of the other species. To truly unify Alma Toran, Solomon had to become the ruler, for he was the one in whom the people placed their most trust. Through the final battle against the resistance, Solomon became the ruler of Alma Toran. However, Solomon, Arba, Sheba, and Yugo ventured into another dimension and there witnessed Il-Ilah's death, tainted with black as the primordial dragon had foretold. There they were forced to acknowledge that the Rook, emanating from Il-Ilah, would determine everyone's fate, regardless of their intentions or ideals. Solomon then decided to replace Il-Ilah, the god of Al-Matoran, and alter the course of destiny, establishing the white rook and distributing it equally to all. In doing so, he nullified the power of the divine staves bestowed by Il-Ilah and created his three mages, Arba, Sheba, and Ugo. Arba, profoundly changed after Solomon supplanted Il-Ilah, whom she worshipped, founded Al-Thaman with other dissident members of the resistance. War then broke out between Arba and Solomon's followers. Arba killed Sheba and seized her divine scepter. Al-Thaman had succeeded in creating life from the Ruck, as well as neutralizing Solomon's Ruck and utilizing Il-Ilah's Black Ruck. They used this life form, the Black Jinn, to fight Solomon and his family, who were forced to become jinns themselves to confront Al-Thaman and the resurrected Il-Ilah. Ultimately, Il-Ilah and Al-Thaman were sealed away in a parallel dimension, but at what cost? Along with Sheba and Solomon, many inhabitants of Al-Matoran perished, and the surface became deserted and lifeless. Chaos once again descended upon the earth when Solomon's death rekindled old resentments between the different species. Ugo presented the survivors with the magical orb containing the fetus of Aladdin, son of King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba, as Solomon's heir and avatar, in order to restore hope to the population who had taken refuge in underground cities for 5 years, until their resources were exhausted. In accordance with Solomon's wishes, Uraltigo-Noi-Nuf created a new world, ruled by Solomon's Ruck. It was in this world that Ugo established the dungeon system, allowing for the selection of a new king at any time and preventing a recurrence of the chaos that had preceded and followed Solomon's reign. He also established the mage system, so that anyone touched by the ruck of a previous mage could guide future kings. However, Al-Thaman was resurrected in this new world and was determined to destroy it. Ugo, having become a jinn and unable to intervene in world affairs as guardian of the sacred place, raised Aladdin in the hope of saving the new world from Arba's murderous vengeance. Al-Thaman, also known as the Eight-Pointed Star, is an organization that was created in Al-Matoran. Its members are all former magicians of Al-Matoran who fought in the resistance alongside Solomon Jehoahaz Abraham against the government of his father David Jehoahaz Abraham. But when David Jehoahaz Abraham massacred their families, many of the resistance magicians lost faith in Solomon. Arba, who was then one of Solomon's magi, rallied them under a single banner, Al-Thaman. Now, Al-Thaman has returned to the new world created by Solomon. The leader of the organization is Gyokyun Run, Empress of the Ko Empire, a descendant of Arba, who is in fact possessed by her. Al-Thaman's goal is to bring Il-Ilah, whom they call their father, down to earth. Il-Ilah was once God himself, the one who guided and wrote destiny. But Il-Ilah's rooks are black, and if he were to descend to earth it would be a true catastrophe, for everything he touches is reduced to nothingness, to dust. Depravity is one of the means employed by Al-Thaman to achieve their goal. The process of depravity consists of transforming a person's white rooks into black rooks, which then makes that person a pawn of Al-Thaman. To this end, Al-Thaman does not hesitate for a second to look into the past of their victims and exploit it. They take everything dark, violent, and sad from people's past and exploit it to turn a person's white rooks black. Al-Thaman produces relics of great power called black relics. The power of these relics rivals that of enchanted caskets containing jinn. When a person who has fallen into depravity uses a black relic, harnessing its full power, they implant it in their body to transform into a powerful black jinn. This is how Al-Thaman succeeded in creating black jinn. In Aramaic, the term for God is Ilaha, or sometimes Allah. This is the form Jesus is said to have used, as Aramaic was his native language. It is a Semitic word closely related to Allah in Arabic and Elohim in Hebrew. Both come from the same Proto-Semitic root for divinity. The word Ilah alone is also used, and the possessive form of my God is Elahi. Elahi is the possessive form meaning my God. It is notably famous in the phrase Eloi, Eloi, lima sabachthani, often translated as, my God, why have you forsaken me? Again, what does it have? It has A, which is Alpha, it has Allah. In conclusion, in its generic sense, Ilah designates any worshipped entity, any deity that is worshipped. In Islamic jurisprudence, the term Ilah can also mean the effective cause or the operative reason of a law. In French, Isla is the masculine form of Ila, and Ila is the feminine form of Isla. These words come from the masculine pronoun il, which means he, and the feminine pronoun elle, which means she. And the contraction of il and l gives all, like it, an asexual being, and above all, neither feminine nor masculine. When we say God, we use the masculine pronoun, and when we say goddess, we use the feminine pronoun. Yet God is neither male nor female, but sexless and therefore uncreated. The same is true for Isla and Ela, one expressing the male aspect of God and the other the female aspect of God. This is why the Arameans also say Allaha to unify the gender of the sexless. Thus, they remain neutral with regard to the gender of the divinity. The word Allaha or Ilaha appears in the books of Daniel and Ezra in the Old Testament. The name Allah was already used in pre-Islamic Arabia to designate the supreme God. Arab monotheists, including Christians and Jews, used it before the advent of Islam to refer to the one God. What we Christians should understand by the term Allah is that it is quite similar to the term Alpha. So when Jesus tells us that He is the Alpha, He is telling us that He is Allah. He tells us that He holds Allah in one hand and that He holds the Omega in the other hand. The Omega symbolizes the end and perpetuity, while the Alpha symbolizes the beginning and openness. Jesus is therefore the first God and the last God. We can say that He is the only God of eternity, because Allah invokes the past tense of to go. He is therefore not the way to follow but a past and bygone model. Between the Alpha and the Omega lies the intermission, the narration of the story. It is the interval between the parts of a show, a concert, a play, or the pause and rest during an action. Once again, I consider Allah and His book as an irony, because Allah has a mindset that presents a manifestly false proposition as true in order to highlight its absurdity. The Quran is a grotesque counterfeit of life, a burlesque imitation of the biblical work, a parody of the Bible. Allah does not seek to persuade us of the falsity of His Quran's pronouncements, but rather to create doubt about the Bible's apparent logic by highlighting the unusual and unfamiliar aspects of biblical reality. The Quran is therefore the work of an ignorant, uncultured man who only fools biblical mockers. Be abject monkeys, he said, monkeys deserving only contempt, a doctrine of moralistic disgust effectively espoused by the Prophet Muhammad and his followers. Keep wiping your asses with 3 pebbles like your venerable prophet. No, seriously, why else would this be included in a chain of transmission if not to teach you the humble path of a noble messenger? What, you ask, is it drunken to fear the one who promises us a stay in hell? You bunch of cowards and wimps, yes, I'm being perfectly explicit.